Trump tightens control over 50,000 federal workers. 7,379 Bangladeshi goods get duty-free access to Japan under new trade deal. Iran-US start crucial talks in Oman as confrontation looms. Japan to restart world's biggest nuclear plant. In Trump's war on global justice, court staff and UN face terrorist-grade sanctions. The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump has unveiled sweeping changes to federal civil service rules, marking the most significant overhaul of the system in more than a century. The plan, released by the Office of Personnel Management, fulfills a campaign promise by Trump to remove job protections from federal employees his administration believes are influencing government policy. The policy revives and expands a proposal known as Schedule F, first introduced during Trump's previous term. Under the new rule, the president would have broad authority to decide which federal positions lose civil service protections, potentially making tens of thousands of workers easier to dismiss. The overhaul is expected to face immediate legal challenges. Federal worker unions and advocacy groups filed lawsuits in January seeking to block the policy. Those cases were temporarily paused while the administration finalized the rule, but are set to resume in the coming days. Skye Perryman, head of the advocacy group Democracy Forward, said the organization will return to court to challenge what it calls an unlawful rule. The changes also affect whistleblower protections. According to the administration, federal agencies will now be responsible for setting up protections for employees who report wrongdoing, such as legal violations or misuse of public funds. Bangladesh and Japan have signed a landmark trade agreement, allowing thousands of Bangladeshi products to enter the Japanese market without tariffs. Under the deal, signed in Tokyo, 7,379 Bangladeshi goods, including ready-made garments, the country's top export, will receive duty-free access to Japan. In return, Bangladesh will gradually grant tariff-free access to 1,039 Japanese products. The agreement was formalized by Bangladesh's Commerce Advisor Sheikh Bashir Uddin and Japan's State Minister for Foreign Affairs Horiyi Iwao at a ceremony attended by senior officials from both countries. Bashir said the pact reflects the long-standing partnership between Bangladesh and Japan and highlights Bangladesh's growing economic ambitions. The agreement also expands trade in services. Japan will open 120 service subsectors across 16 categories, including information technology, engineering, education, caregiving, and nursing, to Bangladeshi professionals. Bangladesh will open 98 subsectors in 12 categories to Japanese service providers. Officials say the deal is expected to boost Japanese investment in Bangladesh, particularly in manufacturing, infrastructure, energy, and logistics, while encouraging advanced technology transfer to improve product quality and competitiveness. The United States and Iran have begun high-stakes, indirect negotiations in Oman, seeking to resolve sharp differences over Tehran's nuclear program, amid fears of a wider Middle East conflict. An Iranian official said the talks had not formally started on Friday, but that Iran's positions had been conveyed to Washington through Omani mediators. Indirect negotiations are expected to follow a meeting between Oman's foreign minister and the top U.S. negotiator, continuing a shuttle diplomacy format used in past talks. While both sides say they are open to diplomacy, major disagreements remain. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said Washington wants discussions to extend beyond nuclear issues to include Iran's ballistic missile program, its support for regional armed groups, and human rights concerns. Iran has rejected any expansion of the agenda. Tehran insists the talks in Muscat should focus only on nuclear matters and involve Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. Iran has also warned that any involvement of U.S. military or regional security officials could jeopardize the process. Iran's leadership remains deeply concerned that U.S. President Donald Trump could still order military strikes, following a buildup of U.S. naval forces near Iran. Trump has warned that bad things could happen if no deal is reached. Japan will restart the world's largest nuclear power plant next week, after a technical issue forced the suspension of its first relaunch since the 2011 Fukushima disaster. The head of the Kashiwazaki Kariwa nuclear power plant, Takeyuki Inagaki, said the reactor will be switched back on February 9. The plant is operated by Tokyo Electric Power, known as TEPCO. The reactor was briefly restarted on January 21, but shut down the following day after an alarm sounded. TEPCO said the alert was triggered by a configuration error that detected minor electrical current changes, still within safe limits. The company has since adjusted the alarm settings and confirmed the reactor is safe to operate. Commercial operations are expected to begin on or after March 18, following another comprehensive inspection. Kashiwazaki Kariwa is the world's largest nuclear plant by capacity. Although only one of its 7 reactors will be restarted, the facility has remained offline since Japan shut down nuclear power nationwide after the 2011 earthquake and tsunami caused meltdowns at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, also operated by TEPCO. The United States has imposed sanctions on Francesca Albanese, a United Nations expert who warned major American companies they could be named in a UN report over alleged human rights violations linked to Israel's war in Gaza. According to a Reuters investigation, Albanese sent confidential letters in early 2025 to more than a dozen US firms and 2 charities, saying they could face scrutiny for, quote, contributing to gross violations of human rights in Gaza and the West Bank. Companies contacted included Alphabet, Amazon, Microsoft, Lockheed Martin, Chevron, IBM, Palantir, Caterpillar, and Hewlett-Packard. The letters reportedly alarmed some firms, with at least 2 seeking help from the White House. The administration of President Donald Trump later sanctioned Albanese, accusing her of sending threatening letters and urging the International Criminal Court to investigate. Despite UN claims that she holds diplomatic immunity, Albanese was added to the U.S. Treasury's specially designated nationals list, typically reserved for terrorists, drug traffickers, and sanctioned states. Trump's move was part of a broader effort to sanction ICC judges and prosecutors, which Reuters reported was aimed at preventing future investigations into U.S. or allied military actions overseas.